Hello there, welcome back to the channel where we talk about stuff happening in the VTuber world, and today we take a look at YIna, a VTuber artist who has been accused of stealing art, of copying art, of tracing art, and heavily referencing the art style of a certain VTuber artist who many of you know as Suiika. And this is basically the person who rigged like Iron Mouse's models. She has rigged like Silvervale's model, as well as Annie's model. She's also a very highly respected VTuber artist. And this very same Suiika has made a Google document about YIna, which we covered in a previous video. And so today, as promised, we're taking a look at YIna's side of the story. Because after Suiika accused her of stealing art, in 2025, for the second time, YIna is finally responding with her own Google document. Not this one. No, not this one. This is just a VGen, hold on. Yeah, it's over here. This is the Google document. And YIna is saying everyone deserves a chance to speak their truth, and this is mine. Let's take a look at Suiika's biggest fangirl, who's been her fan for more than 7 years, has to say regarding the accusations levied against her by her idol, Oshi, or whatever, someone she looks up to, Suiika. Anyway, let's take a look at her Google document. Okie dokie, let's take a look. YIna begins by saying there are serious allegations about my art posted on Twitter by Suiika on May 25th, 2025. The main concern being circulated is that I traced or copied from Suiika and or other artists in my final works uploaded on my Twitter. YIna would say, I want to say that Suiika's allegations are not true. Very strong start. My final works are entirely my own, not traced and not copied from anyone else's work. This is the style I developed over the years of practice, personal exploration and creative growth, shaped by personal experiences and influences around me. Time-lapse recording attached is an example of how my work is entirely my own and created without any tracing, copying, or heavy references to Suiika and/or any other artist, as she, referring to Suiika, alleges. YIna would also say, I only ask that people look at both sides of the situation with an open mind and avoid making assumptions and jumping to a conclusion based on one perspective. The following sections will address and disprove the allegations made openly by Suiika, which have publicly called my reputation, integrity, and credibility into question. Before addressing each claim in detail, it is important to acknowledge how these claims were presented. The framing relies on selective context and speculation that leads readers to assume and come to a conclusion without full evidence. Each of the exhibits in each section directly addresses and refutes a specific claim that was made against me. I've made sure to include relevant sketches, references, inspirations, etc. to show clearly where my ideas came from and how they were developed and why the allegations do not hold. Let's take a look at hold on, there's a disclaimer. Dates on the timestamps will be US time zones for any date discrepancies unless stated otherwise. Month, day, year. Explicit consent has been given to commission exhibits, examples by others I have referenced below unless stated otherwise. The document has been formatted in landscape mode, so please keep that in mind for optimal readability. Okay. Section 1. Tracing accusations. Mentioned as most recent copying under Suiika's document. Suiika claimed that my model sketch is traced/copied with the face outline, neck, lip proportions, and its shape. This is not true. In anime art, shoujo and feminine designs in particular, feminine character proportions follow certain specific conventions such as thinner necks, where the outer edges will usually line up at the iris or even at the inner edge. Soft tapered jaw and slightly pointed chins, depending on artistic liberty taken and how feminine the goal is to make the character. The vertical placement of the eyes can be shifted upwards or down to achieve a youthful or mature look. The nose is generally placed halfway between the eyes and chin, though it may sit slightly lower. These are common guidelines for anime faces, and when characters are being drawn in a symmetrical front-facing view that is limited in variation, this will often lead to visual overlap with when following similar stylistic trends, proportions, angles, and line work, and therefore looking similar. The similarities are an outcome when following basic foundational principles of proportions and shapes, and as such is not indicative of copying or tracing. YIna continues by saying, I have not traced or copied Suiika's model face in my model sketch. For comparison purposes, Suiika's model art and my work have been superimposed onto two different Zenless Zone Zero. Ooh, I'm playing that game. Two different Zenless Zone Zero 3D models that Hoyoverse publicly released the basis for MMD purposes. Vivian on the left and Alexandria on the right, as shown below. These ZZZ models have archetypical anime proportions such as rounded chin shapes, tapered jawline, and thin necks, reflecting standard anime proportions. When compared side by side, my design aligns more closely to Alexandria, while Suiika matches more with Vivian. Although both Suiika and my work have a general similarity at first glance, a closer look at the comparison below shows the subtle but important differences. I guess what YIna is trying to say is that anime models will usually look similar, and that's because of the drawing conventions for anime. And the reason why she's using like Zenless Zone Zero, which is a completely separate thing that no one has mentioned before. It's basically a gacha game where you pull for anime characters. And the reason why she's superimposing like anime girls from a gacha game onto like her and Suika's designs is to point out that it doesn't matter what kind of character it is, there will always be like anime girl characters from other franchises that look the same. So just because Suika's artwork superimposes with hers doesn't mean she's copying, because if you look at the Zenless Z characters, like Vivian superimposing with Suika's art, and Alexandria, the person who gives commissions, like superimposing with Suika's and YIna's work, you can see they're quite similar, right? They're very, very similar. And I'm sure both Suiika and YIna didn't copy like Zenless Zone Zero, right? They just drew their own work and it just somehow became similar because of the drawing conventions. At least that's what I'm understanding from what YIna is trying to say. By the way, just a personal disclaimer here, I'm just trying to understand the situation from YIna's side of the story. I'm not an artist, so my interpretations may not line up with what is actually happening. Just be aware you have to come to your own conclusions because, you gotta look at two people's sides of the story, and this is basically YIna's side of the story. Anyway, let's continue. YIna would say, an example, Suika's proportion, lip, and eye placement aligns more closely with Vivian. It highlights Suiika having a wider cheek that can be seen in Vivian, but a more pointed chin like Alexandrina. My work aligns more with Alexandrina's proportion. The lips lining up more, the ends of the eyes align, but it highlights that my eyes sit lower. A softer chin and jawline is slightly narrowed. Both our works have a close overlap of the 3D models and is reflective of the common stylistic choices made. With the same logic Suiika originally applied to me, one could argue that both our works mirror these existing facial proportions and shapes closely, which would not be a fair and accurate conclusion. Similar stylistic influences do not correlate to imitation, especially when it is common, particularly in the VTuber/anime inspired art. Relying purely on resemblance as proof makes it an unreliable claim, given that the example shows how both works have a close overlap with 3D models featuring common stylistic choices. Moving on, Suiika claimed that the eye shape was copied and traced from her customizable eye that can be tweaked with a slider. This is not true. I have neither traced nor copied her eye shape from her customizable eye slider. Exhibit A and B below were referenced when drawing the eyes of the model sketch in question of tracing or copying. Exhibit A references used for the eye's shape. The image on the left was sent to me by a friend as a reference for the eye shape, which is indicated in the screenshot. The date difference highlighted red is due to them being located outside of the US, which affects the timestamp, day, month, year. The image on the right is another reference that contributed to the eye shape in this specific model sketch. Okay, so this is the eye shape reference. It's on the 19th of May 2025. Okay, so she's trying to prove that she was using a real-life eye reference that was sent to her by a friend and not like Suika's own drawing, which Suiika is trying to claim. Okay, I can understand that. Exhibit B, these are real-life references used for specific eye details such as highlights, overall makeup, and waterline. YIna would also provide a time-lapse to prove she's innocent, because if she's able to draw something on her own without like tracing like Suika's art, you can see that she's able to draw on her own. She's not using anything else except for like references. That's it. To disprove the allegation of copying or tracing, I've recorded a time-lapse of a quick bust-up front-facing model sketch, as I primarily work on Photoshop, which does not have the inbuilt feature to record a time-lapse like Clip Studio Paint or Procreate. The model sketch I've done is referenced from Mattel's Monster High Draculaura. These are the design references that were used to create the model above based off of Mattel's Draculaura from Monster High that can be seen in the time-lapse. I don't know what this is, it's probably some random cartoon. Yes, this is a side-by-side comparison of my work that was accused of copying and tracing, and the result from the time-lapse. That's a model sketch accused of tracing and copying, and the model sketch time-lapse is on the right. It's done with pink and black hair. The eyes between the two model sketches are over here. You can see it's roughly the same. This is the superimposed image of my work that was accused of copying and tracing and the result from the time-lapse. The superimposed image of the model sketch being accused of tracing and copying and the model sketch from the time-lapse aligns closely together from the general proportions, placements of features, and the eye shape. This reaffirms the point that my sketch in question was created wholly from my own process using real-life references and not copied or traced, as alleged. There is actually a 6-minute time-lapse, so if you want to check that out, it's on YouTube. I'll just put it in this video, hold on. Anyway, we move on. YIna is saying, I want to highlight 3 key points. The claim of copying and tracing. It was alleged that my work involved copying Suiika's. However, as shown in the overlaid comparisons above, section 1.1, Suiika's own work closely matched the Zenless Zone Zero's 3D model, Vivian and Alexandrina. Wonder who's Alexandrina? Is it Rina, the maid with the ghosts and big boobs, or is it like the girl who gives the commissions to like the proxies? I don't remember. I don't have her, I think. Anyway, Vivian and Alexandrina with different small subtleties to both. This shows that the similarity in facial proportions and structure are not unique to either of us, but reflective of common stylistic elements that are widely used by others. To single out my work and to be accused of copying and tracing when visual comparisons like these can happen, often and unintentionally, seems speculative at best, targeted and harmful at worst. Oh, what's this? It appears she's calling out Suiika. Anyway, the dangerous precedent set for the future of the VTubing art community. Suiika claims the eyes I have drawn are traced and copied from her customizable model. A screenshot below taken from a document. She states that the eyes are similar once her customizable model eye was tweaked with the sliders to fit my work. The allegations put forth against me highlight a potentially dangerous issue at hand within the VTubing art community and its future. As mentioned and explained in section 1.1, VTuber models are designed for symmetrical front-facing views. This leaves little to no room for variation in proportions and face shapes before they start to naturally overlap due to these limitations. It opens the floor for more artists to be accused of tracing simply because proportions or facial features appear similar or line up, especially where customizable models are more rampant than ever. With adjustments to the customizable sliders, it is possible for anyone to manipulate a customizable model to align with another artist's work and use that as evidence to support the idea of tracing and copying. If similarities in eye shapes, facial features, and proportions is enough to warrant accusations, it sets a precedent going forward that artists will be subjected to the same scrutiny for drawing things in a certain way. There will be nothing to prevent this from happening again in the foreseeable future of this community. This is a screenshot from Suiika's document. You just have to edit the eye size, vertical, and eye shape parameters for the eye of the customizable VTuber model a little, and you have a very similar eye. Okay, I understand what she's saying. She's saying that by Suiika, like using this model slider on a customizable VTuber model to like overlap with someone else's artwork, and then using that to accuse someone of stealing art and tracing art and copying art or whatever, it opens up the possibility that any other person is going to accuse someone else of tracing and copying their artwork when they never did. So someone could be accused of something they didn't do, is what she's trying to say. Okay, I get it. The public implication of wrongdoing. Suiika made a post publicly directly naming me and suggesting that I've been copying, tracing, and heavily referencing. The use of image overlays to highlight similarities in eye shape and facial proportions strongly implies tracing. Even if the claim wasn't stated outright, it can easily be interpreted by the public as tracing. While the document was later edited to clarify her intent, the initial presentation of it carries weight and planted a seed of doubt, one that shaped public perception of me and my works. Regardless of the follow-up edits and tweets, the suggestion was already planted and the impact was felt immediately. Once an allegation with serious implication is made publicly, Going back to edit the document for follow-ups does little to undo any of the harm already caused. This is a screenshot of Suiika's tweet before the document was posted. And this is the tweet in question, because saying, "I'm so tired of staying silent, it's great having so many followers here, but that means I'm not allowed to call out people who wronged me if they are smaller than me, because it would start a witch hunt." And seeing well-known VTubers commission and praise them for straight-up copying and low-key tracing my work is an additional slap in the face. I don't even want to call out people. There shouldn't be a need to call out someone. There shouldn't be a need for it, because we talked privately in DMs 3 years ago, and I was told they would stop copying me and tracing the others' models, but nothing changed. Instead, I'm blocked by them and they keep doing it. At what point have they had enough? I've had them blocked for years before blocked people could even see posts, even though they're blocked. They must have used an alt account to stalk my art and keep copying it. What kind of weird obsession is this? You know what's funny about this tweet? Like, the post has been deleted. You can see here the post was deleted. So Suiika, I think she's obviously read the document from YIna and she's like deleting it. Whether that's an admission that Suiika is admitting that she is wrong or something, I don't know. I haven't seen her responses yet. YIna, but we don't know yet. We might not know if this post was the same post in the Google Doc, so there's that as well, but I think it is. This is a screenshot from Suiika's follow-up tweet after the document. I also clearly said multiple times there is heavy referencing and copying involved. By no means did I claim that every single thing YIna drew is traced off me. She uses a mix of many of my current and past model art styles, which is still my art style and is the reason why her art looks so close for comfort. In general, you shouldn't copy someone so closely that people have to overlay your art with someone else's and question if it's traced or not. Basing other artists' model work. Okay, anyway. Section 2. Copying OC. Original character allegation by Suiika. Claims of copying headband, animal ears, two-toned hair, dark goth designs, dark clothing, outfit top design, and red eyes. The inspiration for my new original character began when I started playing VR chat in 2022. Suiika had made an allegation of tracing in 2022 that I addressed and disproved, but that accusation has left a deep emotional impact. After the 2022 allegations from Suiika, it was especially hurtful to be accused of tracing, and it left a deep impact on how I approached my work thereafter. My previous design, which once meant so much to me, became something I no longer identified with due to it no longer representing who I was or how I wanted to express myself creatively. Exhibit C. The VR chat avatar with airbrushed hair color and stripe. The veg window, hot pink eyes, 02 is a female anime character with a horned headband that appears in a 2019 anime. Darling Inner Franks. Oh boy, this was such a... how should I say this without getting copyrights claimed or something? It was a horrible anime. It was okay if you're watching it for the first time, but overall I was trash. Holy crap. The ending was super rushed. Not my cup of tea. Holy crap. Anyway, the 02 reminiscent headband with horn and animal ears. This was subsequently my inspiration for my original character design. First posted June 2021, and you can see the DMs here with a timestamp. I thought of something cute. Uploads will be available for free for people who purchased each avatar or as an exclusive that you can get in VR chat. I'll be doing it either all or most of my AVs, I think it cuts off from there. So what she's basically saying is Suiika is accusing her of copying her art, when this art right here is basically inspired from 02, is what she's trying to say. Okay. While spending time in VR chat and exploring avatars, I found a space that allowed me to start fresh and slowly rebuild what creativity felt like for me. This is when and where the idea for my original design started to form. Those familiar with VR chat will understand the wide range of both aesthetics, with avatars that reflect themes like edgy fantasy and dark elegance strongly on the platform. There are many VR chat avatars and VR assets with design elements similar to my character that can be found through public searches. There are other similar avatars and assets that could be used to further disprove this allegation. I've chosen not to include them out of respect for the creators, as I have not received their permission to reference their work in this document. Do you even need permission for that? Artists are weird. Anyway, YIna continues, the examples included below are the ones I've received explicit consent to share. The exhibits below will showcase the design's influences and the process of the design choices I made from personal influences and stylistic preferences that shaped my original character design and its final looks. While I, referring to YIna, no longer use this version of the design, it has since been further developed and refined as part of my creative progress. Exhibit D, left. VR chat avatar with cat ears, headband with horns, crosses, pink eyes, stripes of hair, highlights, and dark edgy vibes. The avatar is a special DLC downloadable content of 8 different pre-made avatar, another source of design inspiration posted February 2022. Exhibit E, right. VR chat avatar with cat ears, hairstyle bang, strong use of black edgy vibes. This avatar creator creates avatars with an edgy aesthetic. Okay, so these were the inspiration then. 1 headband, animal ears, and 2 toned hair streaks, dark goth designs were copied. Exhibits C and D were published in respective order of June 2021 and February 2022. They were the blueprint that would be the foundation of my design and thereafter. It's C and D, so this is D. Where's C? This is C, and this is D. So these two were like the things she was using as the inspiration and not Suiika's art. Okay. YIna continues. Suiika's design with 2-toned hair was not first published on her Twitter until January 2022. Her design showcasing a headband is not published until March 2022. The elements in question, like the headband and color stripes of hair, were already present in Exhibit C June 2021 prior to Suiika's design being made public March 2022. Based on the timeline, it is important to note that the avatar creator's work from Exhibit C, so this one, in regards to the animal ears, headband and dark design and the hair stripe highlights, June 2021, was publicly available before Suiika's 3.0 design, and the headband was released publicly on Twitter, January and March 2022 in the respective order. I am now being accused of copying Suiika's design, with similar concepts have already existed in public spaces before her design was created. Suiika's design with headband first made public in March 2022. Okay, so this is the tweet. So YIna is being accused of copying this design that was in March 2022. But YIna was actually inspired by this design, which was in 2021 by someone else. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Because 3.0 design first made public January 2025. Okay, she's providing proof. Interesting. Exhibit F, G, H, and I were included to further show what kind of visual style I was drawn to with the dark colors, animal ears, toned hair, and edgy gothic elements. These exhibits how my character's design was heavily influenced by my preferred aesthetics of VR chat avatars. Exhibit F, dark color and edgy designs, pink cat ears, 2-tone hair. Exhibit G, right, use of gothic crosses, dark colors, 2-tone gradient, an edgy design with cleavage of window, and I can see a Discord screenshot with dates on the 7th of July 2022 and on the 2nd of August 2022. Okay. Exhibit H, screenshot depicts a conversation I had with a friend in May 2022 about an avatar I came across that I became fond of while shopping for VR chat avatars. This was one of my inspirations for the creation of my character, similarly to Exhibit C. Exhibit I, DMs between friends and I, where I expressed I was going through an emo phase, screenshots taken VR chat of me in edgy VR chat avatar. Elements of animal ears, split hair, colored hair strips, gothic crosses can be seen. Note, this is a pre-made pay-to-use avatar. Some outfits, ears, and eye/hair color can be customized. Please also note the facial proportions and face shape of this avatar, as these key features are what influenced how I approach the same stylistic convention in my style later on. YIna continues to defend herself, saying Suiika claims that her work, her dark clothing, and the top design was copied. This is untrue. Please refer to the exhibits JKL, M, N, O, P, and Q as they showcase the full development process of my character design, along with its references, ranging from early concept sketches, mood board inspiration, and the final look. They show how the design evolved and the thoughts that went behind each design element that shaped the final look. Exhibit J are screenshots between a friend and I discussing concepts that were originally meant to be an edgy design, all over for my existing character from the 2022 allegation before, but I decided to create an entirely new character to step away from the emotional baggage that the character held for me. Okay, let's take a look at the rest. Exhibit K, with the assistance of a friend who referenced elements from Moe flavor lingerie during the design process, as well as a reference photo I provided, a concept sketch was created. Refer to Exhibit J. You can see YIna asking what about this, like collar than booba window, I love booba window, sexy Mao. Someone else is saying you must have booba window in 2022. There's a Cyber Bunny set for $55. Wonder what this is about. Exhibit L, the original design process, including mood boards, concept iterations, color palette exploration, experimentation with different types of outfit colors, hair colors, and streaks can be seen. The mood board can be seen in larger detail on Exhibit P. Wow, she really went all out, huh? This was what, 2022? Things are not looking good for Suiika here, you know? She accused this girl, YIna, of copying her. Now YIna is coming out with all the proof that she did so much to reach the design that was accused of copying, which is insane. This is one of the best Google Docs in response to other Google Doc allegations that I've ever seen. It's so comprehensive, and it's one by one, targeting every single accusation and showing every single speck of proof that she had in her DMs and whatever. Oh my god. If Suiika doesn't apologize or say something that changes the situation, he's done. I guess she's still a talented artist, though. Even if she make mistakes, such as, calling out someone, accusing someone of doing something they didn't do, in this case, YIna. I guess Suiika won't be cancelled. He's still pretty competent as an artist, so I guess she can just apologize and move on. That's also an option, I guess. But anyway, let's continue with YIna's barrage of evidence that she didn't copy anyone, especially not Suiika. Screenshot DMs discussing early aspects of my character's theme and aesthetic direction. The messages reference inspiration from the 2019 anime, My Dress Up Darling, in terms of color palette and design, that I feel is reminiscent as part of the design in Exhibit Q. Bro, bless up for My Dress Up Darling. Lamau, I literally color picked 2022. Same year, I'm organizing her mood board. Hold up a little, I'll show you. Also, I'm going with Revelations. She's gonna have butterfly moth got motif. Like her family, motif is moth and butterfly. Exhibit N, overall early exploration sketches made of the design. Please refer to Exhibit P for the mood board to see which and how aspects of the design were inspired by those references. Okay, let's see. Exhibit O, exploration ideas and iterations of hairstyles for my original design. Exhibit P, final mood board of the design behind my character. You can see the design elements, the iterations, and final designs such as the collar and suit tie, choker necklace, and shoes. Refer to Exhibit N above and Exhibit Q below. That's a lot of reference. Exhibit Q, art piece of my original design of her final design. Refer to Exhibit P for specific references behind the design. The ends in Exhibit R reflect the level of thought and personal meaning that went into developing my character's lore and backstory. How far did you go? The depth and emotional investment shown here directly disproves the idea that I simply copied Suiika's design. The character creation came from a place of genuine effort and not something that was carelessly created. Exhibit R is a screenshot of DMs in which I discuss and develop key aspects to my character's personality, backstory, and abilities. It's 2022 and YIna is saying certain things about her original character, not me. She's mischievous, naughty, sassy, and she doesn't care what other people think of her because her family have always been a part of the council in their world that holds order, right? And she's part of the council or is prepped, or they want her to be a part of the council and she's breaking traditions from the way she wears they're super conservative, but she's out there with her ass out and she's but then sometimes it gets to her when she has time to stress and she's oh wow, my family doesn't accept me as a whole. They berate me for the way I act or dress, or pretty much. And that's because they're not used to me showing parts of myself that others see. Basically interacts with her friends differently. She does with them. She definitely acts a bit more reserved when with family, turns into a bat and bite them. But blood transfusion, as in she takes in their blood, she bites them and then the blood trails out like string and she can puppeteer them. We have a Chuni deal right here. Suiika claimed I copied her eyes on her design. This is untrue. Exhibit S below includes the original concept sketch of my character. The specific artwork Suiika referenced in a document in my reference sheet to show the intended original eye color. Let's take a look at the damages. Oh look, it's Ruby from Oshinoko. Honkai Star Rail as well. Interesting. Exhibit S, Sparkle from Honkai Star Rail and Hoshino Ruby from Oshinoko is included to show the dark pink garnet eyes distinct from red by comparison. The eye color in this reference is similar to those in my character's eye color. Multiply layer settings for lighting purposes were removed in the middle piece to better showcase the intended original eye color. This exhibit is to show and disprove the claims of copying her, referring to Suiika's artwork's red eyes. Okay, so red eyes, okay, I can see it. Claims of copying the same hand pose for the art piece I created, this is not true. The hand pose on my art piece was not copied off her screenshot of her model. The art posted and the pose it entails was inspired by the K-pop group Red Velvet's song Peekaboo, came out November 2017. The pose is from a key signature move from the dance where they lift the hand over their face with an OK sign hand pose in the music video and for promotional images for the song album. It was then changed since I didn't like the posing of the hand and felt it looked unappealing with the way the pinching fingers of the index and thumb blocked out the majority of the eye. So I changed it to what it is now to better showcase the focal points that were meant to be eyes originally. The T image on the left is a reference photo of Joy from Red Velvet doing the OK hand gesture. The image on the right shows my initial sketch based on this pose. Okay, lots of proof right here. So that's why it looked the way it did. Exhibit U, screenshot below, is of the Red Velvet Peekaboo song on my Spotify playlist since January 2020. Oh my god, this girl is going so hard on the evidence. She's so meticulous. Indicating a familiarity to the song before the post in Exhibit T, image below includes a Twitter post screenshot where the song's lyrics are quoted in the caption. These were the design processes that shaped my character design, from the mood board and exploratory concepts to the creative intent behind her final design, including her backstory and powers. Each element was thoughtfully developed alongside the details and intricacies of this backstory. Section 3, copying of the eyes allegation. Suiika claims I have never done eyes that had inner corners, the eyes or under waterline in her document. This is not true. I've always drawn my eyes leaning towards semi-realism long before joining Twitter in 2019. I was active on Instagram as early as 2014. Just how much proof do you have, YIna? How much proof do you have? Oh my god. Like, this girl is going all out on the proof. It's like stuff from 2014. Every single thing she did as an artist that Suiika tried to say she didn't do are just coming out in full force as evidence that was already publicly available since like 2014 or something. Oh my god. And 2014 was before like Suiika even knew YIna existed, I think. Crap. So meticulous. Here are some examples from my Instagram pre-2020, now inactive and private. Suiika has started posting on Instagram since she joined in 2017, as stated in the document. My earliest art with semi-realism eyes was published October 2016. His style continues to 2018 and into 2020. Exhibit 5 extends until page 32. Images from my Instagram showing artworks with semi-realistic style and similar eye shapes I use today. This reflects the continuity and progression in my artistic growth over time, as well as my exploration. Oh my god, it's the Instagram posts with these. Not the best, but she's like trying to find a style, I guess. More Instagram posts. We've reached a different section. Moving on, Suiika claims the eye shape specifically for the rat VTuber model and the whale girl design was heavily referenced from hers. YIna would say this is also not true. The following exhibits show the process and how I experimented with some anime-esque eye shapes and styles while still referring to real-life references. Exhibit W, eye shapes were experimented more with anime-style shapes as exhibited. The art piece created by me on the left and translated over onto the rat girl sketch model on the right. Exhibit X, DMs with the client show work-in-progress images where the eye design evolves through various stages of refinement and adjustment. In the picture on the far right, a real-life reference photo is visible, which I was using as a reference during the process, referring to like this red arrow pointing at the reference. Yeah, referring to this eye thing right here on the top right of the image. See, right? It's pretty small though. The eye shape developed here is reminiscent of the one in the artwork shown above in Exhibit W and the commission sketch in Exhibit Y. Exhibit Y includes the work-in-progress screenshots of the rat model. As shown, I've used both my own artwork and a real-life eye reference to draw the eyes. A commission sketch shown on the right features a more anime-styled eye, further reflecting my experimentation with anime aesthetics after transitioning from the semi-realism I explored during my earlier Instagram period. Exhibit Z, the whale girl piece, includes a real-life reference of an eye that was used as a reference for the eye shape, lashes, and waterline. The references and the one in purple is basically artwork by YIna. Suiika claims that every semi-realism VTuber model artist has similarities and is not trying to claim all semi-realistic art styles as hers. She stated that similarities are common among semi-realism, and she's not trying to claim ownership of the style itself. By her own statement below, I am unsure as to why my style has been singled out and interpreted as a copy, especially when I, referring to YIna, created it independently through a combination of different influences based on my preferred aesthetics without any reference to her, referring to Suiika's work. This is the tweet right here, we've seen this in the previous video. I've long since avoided using VTuber model artists as the main reference source for my art style, circa 2022 allegations onwards. Manhwa art styles rely on references with Douyin makeup, a type of makeup style stemming from China that is characterized by the soft and doll-like features, and manhwa-inspired lashes, and popularized through the Chinese equivalent of TikTok. And BJD, ball-jointed dolls, have been used instead to contribute to my style. Refer to Exhibit AA, BB, CC, and DD below. Exhibit AA. Oh my god, that's a lot of references. Real-life references of doing makeup used in a reference for eyes, lashes, lips, and makeup style. Okay, I can see the similarities. Exhibit BB, real-life references of BJD, ball-jointed dolls, faces used in reference to proportions, eyes, lashes, and lips. These are used in tandem with Exhibit DD for my style. Exhibit CC, manhwa references. Oh god, I recognize none of these. I guess these are like manhwa for girls. Manhwa references from different manhwa novels and comics and webcomics used as reference for the face, eyes, and eye shapes and proportions. Wait, wasn't this the Dracula girl we saw before? Is it actually popular? Oh wait, it's Ever After High. I know this. It was popular for a time and then it fell off. But I never got into this, that's why I don't recognize any of these. Exhibit DD, doll art and real-life doll references, referred to Exhibit BB, contribute heavily to the way I draw eyes. Boldness of eyes, eye shape, lashes, and bold lines and proportions. It is important to note that I've been a long-time toy doll enthusiast, with Mattel's Monster High franchise, with it being a big influence on my development in style, taste, and aesthetics since it first launched in 2010. God, that's a long time ago. I actively collect dolls specifically from Monster High, and the connection has been a consistent influence in shaping my style. Well, I can see it, like the eyes, very similar to the drawings, very similar. Exhibit EE, screenshot of updates sent to the client, showing a PNG of the design alongside with real-life references of a face makeup, which were used as a point of reference during the entire process. So many references, so many. Exhibit FF. Screenshots depicts the DMs in which I was actively exploring and experimenting with different eye styles, shapes, and facial proportions with aesthetics I prefer, based on the references shown in exhibits CC above. Seems like a lot of these are from 2025, so it's pretty recent. Good to know that she's improving her art. Yeah, you can see the progression, right? You guys aren't blind, okay? Exhibit AA, BB, and CC are references I used that have contributed to the evolution of my style, especially when it comes to eye shapes, lashes, and the details of the eyes. Combined with the long love of dolls that features an emphasis on bold lashes and eyelines, I believe these influences are clearly reflected in my art style. By sharing these references and inspirations, I hope it's clear that my work is shaped by real-life inspiration and personal interests around me. The things I love and connect with are the influences that define my visual aesthetics, artistic taste, and the overall direction of my art, as shown in the Instagram examples above. I've long been exploring different types of eye styles, style of semi-realism, and anime long before. Section 4. Addressing 2022 allegations of tracing and copying design. Claims that there was another artist, Lol Tinami, being traced. This concern was addressed previously in 2022, and I will clarify it once more again. In her document, Suiika states that she does not know the owner of the chibi model that YIna made. The way it is presented could be interpreted that the model was created for a client and sold for a profit. The model in question was part of a personal study and was never intended for commercial use or profit, as clearly mentioned as per DM in his document on page 44. Suiika also mentions that the tracing and copied posts are gone now. While I do not agree that the work involved tracing and copying, I chose to remove the post at the time to respect the artist's wishes and concerns being raised. YIna would say, I will firmly reiterate that I did not trace this work. I do not and have not traced any of my works. This is from Suika's allegation on the document. I do not know the owner of the chibi model that YIna made. And here is a DM with Suiika and YIna saying, no intention for it to be sold other than for practice. I have always been transparent when the concerns are brought up that the piece was heavily inspired As many artists do when studying styles they admire, the intention was to practice and learn. Shows model works that were allegedly traced. Claims were made that certain parts of the model, specifically the eyes and legs, were traced. This was also addressed previously at the time, and I want to reiterate this for the second time. While Suiika's work was visually referenced as part of the exploration of my style back then, the final piece was created through my own process. I cannot admit to an action I did not commit, and I maintain my stance that I did not trace her work. Time-lapse above in section 1 shows my process of how I work with references, that my work is original and not the result of tracing. Claims that my previous two models, the blonde model and the outfit from my pink hair model, was copied. When I was approached by Suiika in 2022 regarding the tracing allegations, topic of design similarities, especially my older model with the cardigan outfit, and the blonde hair model was not mentioned. I was not given the opportunity to address these claims at the time, and this is the first instance of the design comparisons I mentioned. I believe it is important to clarify that they were not a part of the original discussion in 2022. Regarding the cardigan outfit, cozy vibes are widely used and commonly seen motifs in the VTuber community. My outfit is not a tank top as Suiika claims, but a one-piece dress. Inspired by the wrappings of a Ferrero Rocher chocolate, cardigan is brown, cropped and worn loosely, not tucked in and both off-shoulder. The wavy hairstyle referenced was a toggle I added later, or a style change and not a part of the final look of the design. I need to reiterate that these claims were never mentioned to me in the original discussion. So this is the one-piece dress and this is the cropped cardigan, both off-shoulders, references used for the cardigan outfit. Why the reference used better than the art? Yeah, this cardigan looks better. Looks pretty nice. I wonder which fashion brand does these. Very nice. Similarities pointed out by Suiika in my blonde model. The bangs and hair were not derived from a design. It was inspired by a corporate VTuber from Hall Life, Laplace. Really? The exhibit HH. The hair bow was inspired by Sailor Venus from Sailor Moon. My entire design was very reminiscent of Sailor Moon. Bows are widely used motifs across various countless different character designs, especially in feminine and elegant archetypes. The neck pieces and design elements common in fantasy idol and elegant style designs. The neck piece design has been consistently after this model. One available example is attached below, as the remaining designs are part of the commissioned works. I do not feel comfortable including them in this document out of respect for the client's privacy. See Exhibit GG and II. Similarity in isolated design aspects does not indicate imitation, especially when the design direction was influenced by publicly recognizable sources. What may feel like a specific match can just be shared influences from the same similar visual culture library, with that being the VTuber community, which often draws inspiration from anime and games. And on the left is like Suiika's model, and on the right is like Yina's model, and Suiika overlaid these two models and said that Yina was copying her, and this Yina's attempt at disproving that. Let's take a look. I will judge for myself if you actually use Laplace as your reference. I do like Laplace, and I do listen to it, and she has actually liked my comment. Anyway, Exhibit GG, unicorn-themed character first created in May 2024 and updated in 2025, also features a similar shaped neckpiece. Doki. Exhibit HH, All Life JP corporate VTuber and resident Kusugaki, before Hanade came in, Laplace Darkness. Revealed and debuted November 26, 2021. He has right swooping middle bangs and a braid. Yep. Take a look. Okay, so you say you copied Laplace into this drawing. Okay, I can see it, okay. Exhibit II, these were some of the references and inspirations behind the neckpiece, bow hair, and hair color, which was adjusted to suit my artistic vision, and the earrings. The overall design was inspired by Sailor Moon. Hair color and hairstyle were from Kokomi Genshin Impact. The earrings in particular were inspired by an artist, Yoeko's simple moon on a string earring design that was transformed to align with my creative vision. Note Yoeko's image was taken from a YouTube video, constituting under fair use for explanatory purposes. This is the neckpiece reference. Okay, Sailor Moon, Kokomi from Genshin Impact, visual references, the inspirations behind my blonde model design. Okay. Section 5. Fallacy in arguments. Disclosure. I'm not implying that Suiika has copied or traced my work. However, if the roles were reversed, then one could make a similar claim by using the same reasoning used against me. I'm not doing so because I believe this logic of relying on surface similarities is extremely flawed. This section is only intended to show how subjective and speculative the accusations against me are, and why such claims should be approached with extreme caution. Yina continues, a false analogy is a common kind of reasoning that may seem reasonable and logical at first glance. However, this is a logical fallacy. Sharing similar traits doesn't mean two things are the same, or that one comes from the other. I believe that the claims made against me follow a similarly flawed structure. An example being Art 1 contains feature A, Art 2 contains feature A. Therefore, Art 1 must be copied from Art 2. So to show this doesn't hold up, we will use these three images, two that Suiika has created and one that I made. YIna Glorp Miku, Jan 30th, 2025 versus Suiika Post Sketch January 31st, 2025 on the right and Suiika Post Color February 2nd, 2025. Okay, so the green Miku on the right with color is basically YIna's chibi. And the one on the far right that doesn't have color is Suiika sketch. And in the middle is like Suiika and chibi, Suiika and YIna sketch together superimposed. And it seems like, yeah, it does look like there's some copying involved, but just because it looks similar and it superimposes correctly doesn't mean it's copied, right? Yeah, I can see the argument. First fallacy, false analogy. Suika's chibi work February 2025, my chibi work January 2025, very similar. Just because two artworks share feature A, in this case proportions, eye shape, nose and teeth, face shape, any similar visual features they happen to share or line up with doesn't automatically mean one copied the other. Since my post came before hers in the timeline, if I wanted to, I could say she must have taken feature A from me, but that wouldn't be fair or accurate, as making assumptions based only on shared similarities would be operating on a fallacy. Second fallacy, confirmation bias. This happens when people look for evidence that supports what they already believe instead of looking at the full picture. The popular method is placing two drawings over each other and pointing out that parts line up. This can be misleading when you focus only on similarities and ignore everything else. It is easy to draw the conclusion you already have in mind. This example, I adjusted the size of Suika's post colored chibi to match my own by the face shape. Same way that was done to mine. She's talking about the tweaking Suika's model eye shape like fit into like YIna's art style. Okay, that's what she's talking about. With enough tweaking, anyone can make two images appear similar. But using that to prove copying doesn't take into account the coincidence, style overlaps, trends, and natural similarities between the artists. This is why I believe this kind of approach is misleading. Third fallacy, argumentum, the ad populum, argument based on the assumption that because an idea or opinion is popular, it must be true or right, an appeal to the popular belief, judgment, or prejudice. When there is no direct proof, some may turn to public judgment by presenting a comparison and allowing for public interpretation and opinion. While this seems like a neutral stance, it's creating a narrative based on speculation and absolving responsibilities and consequences of a direct accusation. Comparisons are presented and the public is asked to decide. It is easier to come to a conclusion through repeated agreement by others. Visual similarities don't always tell the full story, and public interpretation can sometimes miss the intent and thought process behind artistic choices and liberties taken. When serious accusations are made, especially in the creative spaces, they should be approached with care and fair understanding of context before drawing conclusions. Overall, while Suika's methods may suggest a certain theory, they do not amount to actual proof. The way these claims are framed relies on logical fallacies and assumptions rather than concrete facts. As a result, the situation then becomes a matter of one person's perspective against the other. I hope this document helps make my side of the situation clear, and I ask that the situation be approached with the same fairness and full consideration with the context and facts I provided with the sections and exhibits above. It is important to point out that using the order in when the works were posted to imply copying is a flawed argument. Just because my work came before Suika's does not mean she automatically copied me. With the same logic, she cannot claim I copied her simply because mine came afterward. This kind of reasoning is a fallacy and fails to take into account the context of shared influences, aesthetic trends, and similarities that come from being a creative community. Okay, she's talking about the one she showed before, okay. Furthermore, refer to the first comparison between Vivian ZZZ and Suika's artwork. When the two were superimposed, the resemblance was clear. However, the similarity alone does not prove that Suiika copied traced the character. If the similarities are not enough to accuse self-copying and tracing from a corporate 3D model, then it is not consistent or fair to accuse me, referring to YIna, of tracing or copying her work based on comparable visual similarities. Section 6. Claims of having an alter account to stalk. Suiika. Stalking is a criminal offense. Okay. The claim that I've used an alter account to stalk is both unfounded and highly responsible. Allegations of this nature cannot be made without proper evidence as they carry serious legal and reputational consequences. Oh, come on, it's just a Twitter, who cares? In her document, she refers to it as suspected use of an alt account. However, this is a direct contradiction to an earlier tweet she publicly stated, "They must have used an alt account to stalk my art and keep copying it." What kind of weird obsession is this? The shift in language from a definitive statement of certainty to a cautious one does not dismiss the original claim. This is a serious claim. Hold on. I believe she has been using an alt account to keep an eye on my posts. This is a serious claim made without any supporting evidence, relying purely on speculation. These are emotionally charged and defamatory claims. It is reckless and harmful when assumptions are being presented as facts on a public platform, considering the influence and reach she, referring to Suiika, has. Suiika has contributed to the spread of damaging narratives based on the speculation by publicly sharing details that made my account easily accessible to unwarranted harassment. While framed as an effort to promote learning or awareness, the impact has been harmful and caused the spread of unverifiable claims and unsupported statements. I mean, yeah, I guess by Suiika accusing you, you're losing your reputation and your future work opportunities with everyone else because you copied Suika's art and no one wants copied art, and so it just damages your business. I guess that's it. Yeah, that's true. Section 7, damages and clarification. Stated on Suika's Twitter that I have several years worth of history of copying her and even tracing other artists' model work. The phrasing used in this post is ambiguous and can be easily manipulated, misinterpreted, implying I spent years copying and tracing multiple artists, which is not true. This is a very serious defamatory allegation, one that questions my integrity and publicly defames me with the evidence built on speculation and assumptions. It is misleading and heavily exaggerates the nature of the accusation. I did not trace or copy from her or any other artist, as the exhibits above clearly show. Any similarities in style can likely stem from the shared inspiration/taste in aesthetic and common stylistic influences found across the VTuber art community. My designs and the evolution of my style comes from personal interest, creative exploration, and sources that I have been transparent about throughout this document. In her Google document, Suiika stated that the intent is to raise awareness and not to incite harassment. However, the decision to include a link to my account, combined with the framing of the accusations, has enabled such public harassment. This includes targeted messages, loss of opportunities, and misinformation that led to reputational damage to me and to my business as an artist. Screenshots below are the unkind messages I've received by Suika's call to not harass me. I mean, it is Twitter. Of course they're gonna ignore that. I'm just gonna say something. No, I'm not saying something. I'm just gonna read it out. But guys, I'm not the one bullying YIna, okay? I'm just reading it out. Naruto would say, make her bald and obese, thief. It's traced from Suiika, that's why. Yeah, I figured after I saw Suika's new post, this was my immediate thought. Because she traced it. If only they didn't trace Suika's art style, what a shame. I don't mean to be harsh, but the VTuber community contains some of the most pathetic lack of individuals ever. I don't understand what's so hard about looking at the mirror and telling yourself, I'm an asshole and need to change. Anyway, send all your love to Suiika. Moving on. Okay, hold on. It's covering something. Hold on. So more harassment. Yinaeri lies, of course, that they'll change, but they don't, and then go on to trace another chibi model. This looks strangely similar. Yeah, it looks like they traced Suiika. You are correct, because she did. Or Alita would say, there is a fine line between branching off someone else's art style to create your own and straight up tracing. The people defending her, referring to YIna, do not understand that. And if she, referring to YIna, traced it, it would be fine if she was practicing, but selling another person's art is not okay. She copied Suiika. Katie Satara would say, this is just disappointing to find out since I originally really wanted to commission Yinaeri. Ooh, a loss of job opportunity. That's the damage. To find out they've been tracing, copying Suika's art for years. Even if it's not for every art piece, it's just horrible. Especially since she talked about it. It's only horrible because Suiika was the one who talked about it. Okay. YIna would say, it needs to be clarified that both me and Suiika had mutually blocked each other. Although it was stated on Suika's document that I, referring to YIna, was blocked not too long after the 2022 allegation was made, the way the situation was represented has led many to believe I blocked her after she reached out or attempted to resolve things in 2022, which is not accurate. The reality is we both had each other blocked already by the time her document was made public. I was already blocked when I blocked her. I decided to block for my own peace of mind because I no longer wanted to feel fearful or restricted when exploring different directions in my art. The constant pressure I was doing something wrong made it difficult to create freely. So these are the screenshots she was talking about. Yeah, we covered this in the previous video. Misinformation or misunderstanding of the public. okay, why block Suiika? And Busy Poe would say, asked privately to stop and block Suiika, then kept doing it, lol, how immature. Considering how large her platform is. Let's be honest, it's not that large. She's done a lot of things for many popular VTubers, but it's not that large. You know, she's a VTuber artist, so when she puts out a Google document, it's going to be telegraphed to everyone else, right? Considering how large her, referring to Suiika's platform is, I believe it's important that being such a public figure within the VTuber art community, to recognize that public statements, especially those involving serious allegations, on unfounded grounds can have strong implications and lead to unintended consequences. This is in response to this situation that I believe was misrepresenting my character and significantly defaming my reputation in the face. This situation has been professionally and personally stressing and damaging for something I, referring to YIna, did not do at all. I feel it is important for me, referring to YIna, to speak up and firmly refute all the allegations made against me. And you have done. Yeah, you've done a great job. Unless Suiika is able to say something that refutes most of the things in your document, like you are in the clear here. Yeah, you are in the clear. I can vouch for that. Yeah, you are in the clear. After this document, and after Suiika deleted the tweet, right? I think you're pretty much in the clear. Even if Suiika doesn't say anything, I can tell you right now, even if you took damage and you lose clients because of Suiika, you will still be able to survive because of this document. Because you are basically, put out your stance and everything. You've done a great job. This is the afterword. YIna would say, I fully support open, respectful conversations surrounding originality. However, I believe these discussions should be approached with responsibility and care, especially when they accuse individuals. The way I've been portrayed in the document has contributed to public misunderstandings and scrutiny, resulting in reputational harm. Trust I built with my peers and the audience have been significantly impacted, and the effects of it may not be repairable. That's true. I'm proud of my work and stand by the integrity of my art. I've shown my design process through the previous exhibits. For that reason, I will not engage in any more arguments, as it will not add additional value. Well, at least you salvaged some of your reputation. YIna would say, I take a lot of pride in the effort and care that goes into every piece I create, especially commissioned work where trust is everything. I believe in learning, improving, and creating with the utmost integrity that hasn't changed. I understand that conversations surrounding originality and uniqueness in art can get heated and emotional, and how misinformation can spread. I'm speaking up because I want to share my perspective. YIna would say, I appreciate everyone who has been patient, kind, and supporting me throughout all this time. Those who have reached out or simply taken the time to understand, your support means more than I can put into words. I'd like to end this document by saying, I stand by the fact that I, referring to YIna, have never engaged in the behaviors I've been accused of by Suiika, and I will not admit to something I did not do, both in the 2022 allegations and the current claims. I know my truth, and I've carried the burden and weight of these claims long enough. This document is not just a response, it's my declaration. A statement that I will not be reduced, shamed, or silenced by false narratives and claims. You've proven that, okay? I hope that by laying out my process, references, and the efforts behind my work, you will see beyond the assumption and for what they truly are. So what do you guys think? I think YIna is innocent. After all the evidence, it's hard not to say she is. But what do you guys think? Is she spinning here? Is she not making any sense? You still think YIna is the one who copied and traced Suiika's art? You still trust Suiika's words over hers? Or have you had a change of heart? Leave your comments and thoughts in the section down below. Anyway, that's the end of the video. Thank you for coming. Thank you for watching. This is Terry Nebula signing off.